meeting. And welcome to everybody in attendance here. We appreciate you coming. We got a full set of BIS membership here, and that's really, really nice. I appreciate that. The meeting that we had just prior to this is in our agenda, but just so you all know, it's not smoke and mirrors. We have a subcommittee task team of the BIS committee to look at both stormwater and tidal flooding. And it's a task team, and the idea is that we move rather quickly evaluating what our problems are, what some possible solutions are, and we'll talk about that more in our meeting, and we'll show you all exactly where we are at this point in time. But we're trying to move quickly because the town's in the process of doing some budgeting, and they would like some feedback about what some of these ideas might be that we're considering and what those costs might be. So we're moving fairly quickly on that front. So that's where we are with that. Welcome you all again. And Rochelle, do we have any public comments? Any public comments from the public? All righty. Well, thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda as it's written. Does anybody have any concerns or additions or amendments that they would like to put forth?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as written.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay. Conflict of interest. Did any committee member have a conflict of interest concerning any item on this agenda?
No.
No. There you go. Thank you very much. The next item is the approval of the minutes of the last meeting. Got a copy of those. That meeting was in February 19th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right. Next item on the agenda is a TI coastal update. Jamie and Chris, thank y'all for coming.
Be here.
Let's see. Yeah, sure you do.
Jamie, you're fresh off doing a beach survey at Carolina Beach.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get out in the water for a couple hours this morning. It was a little chilly, but beautiful. Can't beat. So quick update from TI Coastal. We're kind of in a in-between period right now with the last project and looking forward to the next project in another couple of years. Knock on wood, we don't have any huge tropical impacts this coming summer. So the next thing that's on our to-do list that we have not honestly gotten started with is the permitting, the long-term permit for after we have the 30-year plan adopted. We want to look forward to applying for a 30-year permit with the state and a long-term permit with the Board of Engineers so that when we go to construction, it's an application rather than leaving them on. So in our busy season right now with TI Coastal, we have not had a minute to get started on that yet, but that is high on my priority list and Chris's priority list to get going on. So hopefully in the next couple of months, we'll get grinding on that and get that application in so we're ready to do it for the next project. We did our last quarterly survey of the channel system in January, so that's coming up for the next edition of the quarterly monitoring survey of all channel systems. So that's high on our survey list. As soon as we get some guys back in out of the field on other projects, we will be getting going on that as soon as possible. It's March. And then the last little update is for the annual monitoring, which is much more comprehensive of upland areas as well. It includes upland survey of Reed, Utah Island, the Audubon and bird conservationists have requested. In the past, it was we could survey with one of their people escorting us in the bird nesting season. Now we have to request a permission, not permission, but let them know that we're going to be surveying, and they allow us to go out and walk through the dune areas on Lake Utah in March before nesting season starts in April. So we have walked all of the upland portions of Lake Utah Island. So that portion of the annual monitoring is already completed and checked off. We did the same thing last year, and then the portion of the beach that's impacted below the high water line is surveyed during a normal annual survey in July or August. So just letting you know that we have completed part of the annual monitoring survey, just albeit 3 months early.
So you're doing Lee Island also?
Yeah, we always, we survey the northern half of Blue Island, so track changes, once we widen deep into the inlet, we want to
Right.
track any changes, to the island.
No, I mean, that makes perfect sense. I don't know why I never thought about it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think we had the bird survey for 2025 posted on the website.
Yeah,
And so what you're talking about is the first half of 2026.
that's it, kind of a quick update from us, happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Yeah, I do. This is totally, I mean, it relates to what we're up here doing. Had an interesting experience a couple of weeks ago. We saw, this is at my house, which is down almost at the town line down here. Saw this huge thing floating in the water, near our docks, between our docks. Could not figure out what on earth this thing was. It was big. And it looked like a kind of a big bubble, but it looked like a huge jellyfish. Well, luckily, the thing got stuck under one of my neighbor's docks. And thank God it stayed there for a while. I looked at it, and it was about as wide as a mattress and at least twice as long. And it was,
Push button. So
and it was fabric.
Really?
So I made sure it didn't go anywhere, because if that darn thing had gotten out in the sound, God knows what would happen if a boat came. So I came down, talked with Tom, and anyway, they sent a couple of firemen down there, and they hooked the thing. This was under my neighbor's dock, and pulled it in. A sandbag.
Oh, wow.
Okay, it was a broken sandbag. That's what it looked like. And what I was the reason I brought it up is because you guys are working down there. Have they not had some problems in that area where their sandbags down at North Topsail Beach? Was that getting pounded? We're trying to figure out how in the world a sandbag that would be used on the ocean side
Wound up all the way.
wound up over
Yeah.
there.
I
I heard they were having some problem in that area that they sandbagged.
They had huge erosion back in October, and a lot of those areas have new sandbags in front of them at like St. Regis Resort and all of what is it, Dolphin Porpoise Place?
Yeah.
Dolphin Shores, Porpoise Place Drive. So new sandbags are put in front of a lot of those structures, but the only older sandbag area was up closer to New River Inlet, around the inlet point. I'm wondering if maybe a contractor, filling up on the beach, just tide came up on them and got one of the new bags and washed it out.
Or it would have to float all the way down the island and then back
I
through.
mean, predominant drift is to the south, so just dumb luck that it came into the inlet on an incoming tide and
Crazy.
down. That's why. But was it in good shape, or was it all torn up?
It was ripped on the seam.
Mhm.
And, that's why I thought, maybe I know how they do that. I'm not sure where the seam is on those, but the seam was on the side.
Yeah, they usually it's an enclosed bag, and one end I believe is open. They pump it full of sand and water and let the water trickle out, percolates out of the sand. So,
Well, I was just curious, how it might have gotten there and where it might have come from, because that's the only place I can think.
figure eight some sandbagging on their north end as well, after the October storm, but, again, with drift being from north to south predominantly here, I would imagine it's been from somewhere north, but I don't think there's any way.
But you don't think it would, to be sure, a contractor wouldn't have just left an empty bag
No, I don't think anybody intentionally would have thrown a bag out into the ocean. I think
or left it on the beach or something.
No, I think it would have been a complete accident if anything like that happened.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just,
interesting. Any other questions or comments for TI Coastal?
Oh, one other thing, I don't know if you knew this, Jamie. The Corps of Engineers has out for contract the removal of the old core dock. So that's gonna be, what's left of that is gonna be removed in a couple of months. That's just FYI.
We couldn't hold our breath.
Well, I mean, it's actually out for bid, it's out for bid right now.
I've actually been dealing with contractors who want to know if they can put, heavy equipment on the beach and, where they can find their laydown area and all of those things. So actually just sent an email, to Morehead City now, because the CAMA office in Wilmington doesn't have the answers. So they're due back April 2nd, but we've got to get their contractors some information so that they can, not April 2nd, I'm sorry, the 29th of March. So we've got to get their contractors the information that they need, the people who want to bid on it.
But it's not it's the Corps of Engineers contract, so I figured.
Yeah.
that would be-
But he's directing the questions to me.
Oh, the Corps is,
Yes. Yes,
that's nice.
Mr. Higgins. So, yeah, so hopefully this all, you know, and I will say, just to say, they've also determined that they budgeted $100,000 for this project, and they now found out that they need divers.
And
They budgeted $100,000 for the project. They now found out that they need divers for this, which I guess for them, they said that it increases the cost about 30%. So if for some reason these bids come in and they're more than what's allotted or budgeted, they'll have to go back, get more money, scrap it and start all over again. So this, I'm not sure if this pier is ever going to get removed.
The
But
longer they
they
wait,
are-
the more it just falls in.
That's right, but they are working on it.
Well, we've been getting calls from about the survey, the clearance surveys on it.
Okay,
Thank you, Chris, I forgot.
Yeah. well, it takes a village.
thank you, Christina. Peter, did y'all have something that y'all were?
No, I was just asking where, the location of this, just to make sure I hit the right place. That's all.
I've lost track over the years. Who or what entity owns Lee Island and Hutop Island today?
I know that the northern half, this is part of what we're dealing with, is, the northern half, North Carolina Coastal Land Trust owns a good portion of the northern half of the island now. There are portions of it that are still privately owned, I believe, by the Lee and Hutaf families. But I think that's the majority of it, right?
Audubon is involved in that too.
Audubon, I think, manages it, but I don't think that they own any of it. I think the portions that they manage are what Coastal Land Trust actually owns.
So that was my next question. Where does Audubon receive their authority and their power to tell you what you
That is
can't
a
do?
very good question. I don't have a great answer for that one.
I think the request for,
So we can hear you at the microphone.
which microphone? There isn't one.
Pick a microphone and
Pick a
anybody.
microphone.
Yeah, it's my understanding that with all of that property, if not all of it is that on now?
Yep.
Most all that property is owned by the Coastal Land Trust, and I believe the request came from the Coastal Land Trust, who works with Audubon to monitor that island.
Thank you.
Don, did you have any further questions?
No, sir.
Alrighty. Jamie, any other questions for Jamie or TI Coastal? Okay, on the water management task team update, we just finished a meeting, and I'm gonna put Rochelle on the spot here. So she can tell you a little bit of what we've been doing. Our last meeting was back in January 28th. And, we had previously looked at the information that had been put together on the stormwater, engineering study. And we had previously looked at the Soundside survey that TI Coastal had done to identify the areas where we were having problems. We elected to have a tour to look primarily at the outfalls that were being impacted by tidal flooding. And so if Rochelle was able to put up a couple of pictures, we'll run through those pictures for you real quick. And Tom Hedrick has led us through this process. Thank you so much for your support, Tom. We started on that tour at Nixon Avenue, and this is the outfall there. And I do want to mention while I'm talking about this, that Tom and his team have recently completed a camera survey of the interior of the pipes. We were going to talk about that in our meeting earlier, but we didn't get that far, but we will. But he has videoed the interior of those outfall pipes. This is the one at Nixon, which is not posing an immediate problem, but the adjoining landowners are going to do some bulkheading, and so that they're going to want us to consider a recommendation whether to work with the landowners on that bulkheading project, to make sure that it works well with our adjoining landowners. And Rochelle, if you will go to the next pictures, this is another picture of Nixon, which is the farthest north. Continue on, and this one is just a depression there at Nixon that we didn't know if that was a problem or not. So you can continue on, Rochelle, Nixon Avenue. This is the Rocky Mount situation. And this is one that our Board of Commissioners is would really like to get moving on a recommendation that would be cost effective, but cost effective and effective in terms of controlling tidal flooding while not exacerbating a stormwater flooding situation. So you can go to the next picture, Rochelle, and that's looking down Rocky Mount. And the next picture is looking at Mr. Malthus's wall. And we were in this process when we're talking about how we might mitigate this situation. We would want to be able to tie into Mr. Malthus's wall and also the wall with Neil Holmes on the south side. Need to make sure we got our elevations correct so we can get that. But we're actively working on that. That's going to take a little bit more discussion in terms of a fix. Jonathan Hinkle and their engineering group put together a $500,000 fix. We're looking for something that works better with our budget and something that can be implemented, but we're actively talking about that. Rochelle, if you can go to the next, that's at Rocky Mount. Now this is right behind us here. Help me with the name. Ward. This is between, right at the back of the street here. The property to the north has a wall and a septic tank there. And then the property to the south is Freddie and Jim King's house. So you can go to the next picture and the water comes out in that marsh area there. And the next picture, and Tom can help out here, but this drainage drains everything up by the putt-putt through the town, goes out, and it flushes well now. And this is a living shoreline that was installed there. And go to the next picture, Rochelle, and that's where the pipe comes out. So we think at the very least, in the public safety building context, that pipe's gonna have to be extended, and there'll have to be some camera discussions to make sure that works well with the new public safety building. So just walking you through this real quickly. And that's a Ward, and this is at Hines. This is not giving us a problem. There's nothing that needs to be done there. It doesn't back up and back up flood there. So we're okay there. The next picture is also there at Hines. And then there's 1212, and there's a street drain there on both sides of the road, Carolina Boulevard. And then if you walk between the houses, go to the next picture. Here's what is known as a duckbill. And I never knew what a duckbill looked like before, but the idea is when the tide comes up, the end of that hard plastic folds, seals it up. But it doesn't work so well when you have oysters all up and down the mouth of it. So, but this is an area, and I want you to kind of keep this one in mind. This is an area that do we want to propose that our commissioners proceed with the idea of replacing this duckbill with the adjoining property owners easement and approval. Okay, so this is what we might call low hanging fruit, something that can be done. So if you go to the next picture, now we're up to 1322, the same thing, drain on either side of the road. And the next picture is, that's where the pipe comes out. And our professionals at TI Coastal were able to dig down in the sand and find the pipe. We know that this is a situation where you can't put on your duck bill because of the sand, but it still wicks the water up. And so the proposal here would be to get approval to extend the pipe, put a duck bill on this to keep the hot water coming in there. All right?
Can I ask, the elevation of those bulkheads, are those high enough? Do they keep, king tides out of those backyards, or?
It's a good question, John.
Yeah.
I think what we would do if we extended the pipe and put a duck bill is eliminate some nuisance flooding, but it would not eliminate king tide.
Or rain.
Well, the rain would come out with the duck bill. And when the tide came up, no rain would go out until the tide came back down.
I was actually at that residence on one of the king tides. They made a call while, we went out and looked at it. And it comes right over top there in between the house.
Looks like it would.
Okay, Rochelle, next picture, please. Couldn't find anything. I think that was at Smith, and the next picture would be at Florida. And this backs up, according to Tom and his team, all the way over to North Anderson at a king tide. But this is an opportunity where the pipe could be cleaned up and a duck bill could be installed and solve that situation there. So we really have 4 different scenarios in Nixon. The one with the existing duck bill, the one that's covered up with sand, and this one are areas where we could take action. If this committee recommended that we proceed with that, we could make that a recommendation to our board of commissioners.
And, Frank, didn't you say you had a cost on that? Like what, $5,000 a duck bill or something like that?
That was Tom.
Yeah, they're about $5,000 for an 18-inch.
Doesn't look like there's too much technology in the duck bill. Is there something better out there?
Well,
A backflow valve or something?
it's a great question. Tom, do you want to describe the one situation where
So there is a check valve of some sort in one of the pipes on Carolina. I believe it was 1322, when we had the camera work done. Until we dig that up, we don't know the condition of it, if it's working. We don't know what type of check valve it is. We can't really tell from the camera. So those work, but the maintenance involved is a lot more than the duck bills. And we've seen good success with the duck bills in other places that have used them when they're maintained and kept up with. Unfortunately, as you can tell by the photos in this one, the ones that are here haven't been. So I would think the best bet would be at least pick one of the locations to put one in and try it and see what it does before we would, really invest in 3 or 4 of them, maybe just do a trial somewhere.
Are we proposing any bulkheading at the end of any of our streets that we maintain, or is that another iteration of the?
well, I guess this is the low hanging fruit stage. We had some discussion about Rocky Mount, which is our primary focus on potential bulkheading. I'm just gonna reach out there and say that probably MP falls into that category. But that takes a little bit more deeper dive that this team is going to consider looking at. We did look at a Rocky Mount proposal that Mayor Braxton has been looking at. And but we haven't discussed that thoroughly yet. But what we're trying to do is come down from a $500,000 Cadillac to a I don't even want to say a number, but something that would fit a budget that accomplishes the same objective.
And gets it done quickly.
Sounds great.
So that's what this task team is trying to accomplish. So, and so I guess one of the things is, do we want to make consideration toward asking the commissioners to proceed with those limited objectives that are relatively low cost?
Just as a blanket, or propose specific ones.
I mean, based on all the discussions, I make a motion to just do one, get one duck bill recommended and do a trial and see how it works. And then, you know, because there'd be more, there's one that is perfect for one where you wouldn't have to do a whole lot of work. The other ones you have to stand and go through the sand and stuff like that. So, you know, if it worked good, then you could spend the money on the other two.
The only thing that I would add to that is that we should probably address those locations like on Carolina Boulevard where it's flooding. In Ampi, those are the ones, you know, some of the duckbill ones they're not a problem, so you're not gonna get anything really for your investment. So I think it's probably smarter to go after the ones where we know there's an issue. That
Okay, so we have a motion to at least try one duck bill. And then do we have a second or?
But what we're discussing, Rocky Mount still, I mean, I've been working on Rocky Mount for 6 years. And we're still right in the same place we've been 6 years ago, talking about it. We need to make a decision on what we're gonna try to do there. Yes, we're gonna put a wall there, fine. Let's find a way we can drain it. You know, we spent that money on it, and your sister saying that engineer didn't know what he was talking about. And, you know, we spent a whole lot of money. That engineer was looking at what we're going to take care of tidal flood as well as stormwater. Because like I said, once that water gets over that wall, when we put a wall there, we got to figure out some way to get that water back into the sound. You know, and we're gonna have to either infiltrate that water or allow some way to get that water back out, some kind of drainage system that's gonna take that water back out into the sound there. But so yeah, maybe we do it at less cost with a wall and just putting a pipe there, but we need to do something for it. But we don't need to just keep talking about it.
Well, in that light, let's take just a little bit of time. And Rochelle, would you be able to throw up the schematic of Rocky Mount that we kind of looked at, just so that we can bring that right to fore?
It can get kind of worn out when we're kicking down the road.
I know it. We got dents all over that can. But we're really focused on this, trying to bring it down to something that is manageable, that is not. So, Rochelle, you had that up for a second. Rochelle, working wonders, I want to tell you. Be able to change this stuff on the fly for us is really good. So this, Mayor Braxton, would you mind coming up?
Yeah. All right.
You kind of explain where we're looking at here.
Yeah, this is a hybrid of what we're looking at. It's the concept that they started out with, and it was to trim the initial flooding on the rainwater. And it also would serve to keep water out from tidal flooding to a point. And right now, they were using the bioretention pond in this particular example of the edge. We need to think further than that. We don't have the volume and a bioretention for the stormwater that's going to be there, of the amount of stormwater. So we're looking at more of a stilling basin or pond. The pond would be basically a dry pond when it was not raining. When it rains, it'll fill up. And so we're increasing the volume that we can capture off the road in a storm event. And then we can release it through a duckbill situation. Once we get that water under pressure, it'll go out. As it moves up, and then it helps. And I don't think we can capture everything, but we can sure make it a little bit bigger. And the function of that is purely detention. We pull the water off as quick as we can, store it and release it. And it's just like when you build a pond, you have that main spillway, then you have an emergency spillway for overflow. The situation we're dealing with, and we've been talking with Chris and T.I. Coastal, is how do we deal with the water that comes from the sun? We might have a point where it overtops. And we plan for the worst case scenario. And we probably have to look at something to be able to get that water from behind the berm or wall that we have there to make it work. And that's just a bypass situation. So I think this would it's not going to solve the whole problem because we don't have a good outlet. And so we're creating the pond's our initial outlet, and then we release it as possible. The worst case scenario is we have a king tide and we have 2 rains back to back, say a 5-year and 25 years. The pond's going to work only as much as it can hold. But yet it's going to, in small rains or medium-sized rains, it'll take it off. So I think it won't solve the problem, but it sure cut back on a lot of the complaints. So, and the cost, it's a lot, public works can do a lot of the work. It's gonna excavation, if there's a wall, if there's a berm, we have to contract that out. And in talking with Chris again, that maybe we can drop the sheep hollings deep enough so we don't have to worry about dead man behind. So that gives us more allocation to increase the storage. And that's the whole function of this, is to give enough storage behind the wall, capture the rain, and then release it out. Cost, we're getting down to stuff, $100. And Joe, I know you.
I mean, I'm not worried about that. I'm just saying, we need to do something.
Yeah,
Whether it was.
Well, this can be quickly done. And I think it will show an effort to get, the early problems done. If it's a high tide or king tide and a big storm, there's not much we can do.
Well, I don't think in any way we're gonna say we're gonna solve that problem. We're just trying to mitigate it on this king tide we're having. And I know that you guys, Amy, when y'all were doing that, I know before Steve passed away, he was saying that, that we were looking at 5 feet probably for that wall, because that's where our tide, our tide had been before. And that's gonna be higher than what those other walls on each side of them. So we need to either let those people be aware that if we put it, which I think we're crazy not to put it at 5 feet when we know that's my problem. I mean, he's crazy to put it down below when we know it's gonna fail before we even put it there.
Right.
But we need to let those neighbors know that they need to look at if Cameron would allow them to do it, to be able to raise that, if their walls, if they wanted to, but if they didn't realize that some of that water was flow off.
The second one.
We talked about that earlier. And we were looking at a viability issue for the town. And so if we did,
Hey,
if we did build the wall up to 5 feet, we'd be higher than the wall on each side, and it may push water around, and all of a sudden, thereafter the times, deeper pockets go, improve or repair the damage that was caused by flooding. If we, we're looking at maybe putting the wall a couple of inches below their wall so that we won't push the water on their land, but it will just come up back for us. That was one option.
yeah, but I mean, really at that, we might well not even be doing, I mean, that's like, I hate to say that word, that's not in the wind.
Yeah, you're right. And it's a matter of how do we adjust for the liability.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, I mean, I think that's one thing I don't know if we can is get the sign off if we ask the let neighbors know that this is what we need to get to solve the problem. Are y'all willing, if we do that, to do something to y'all to compensate, do it. If they do it, I don't know if it's allowed that we can sign off saying, okay, we're gonna do it. Y'all realizing that if that's what you want to have done, that it could cause some problems. I don't know if we could allow, if we could decrease our liability by them signing off that they realize that by not doing that, it's gonna.
We're Steve Coggins.
But I don't think, we know it's need to be 5 feet. We're crazy not to want to do that, to do it halfway just to try to satisfy, to satisfy, because it's not gonna solve our problem on king tides, which is our whole problem.
I think we're at an issue now where you see the concept we're trying to go.
Well, I think it's a great idea, but I'm just saying, I just think we need to make sure when we do it, we're doing it, yeah, to solve a problem rather than, you're not gonna solve it. I mean, if we have a hurricane or a super king tide, high tide, we won't get where to go over.
Yeah, I think,
But we can mitigate what, just what we've been having the last few years, so that we don't have the flood.
yeah, I think this can move quick. That it's a recommendation from this board to move along this concept. And, I just talked to Steve Coggins, and we have an option now of a different engineering group. And the one I was related to before I retires, he's probably the best in stormwater that I've ever known. And, if he looks at it, I know it's gonna work. So,
I think
yeah, we're getting to look at it at least.
Yeah.
And, but I couldn't do that up until this point. And so, it's up to the board. If y'all want to recommend we proceed along these lines, and it comes before commissioners.
Okay, I want to hear what the discussion was over here, so we don't miss what y'all were talking about. Peter?
I think what we were attempting to find out, where is the pond gonna be? I think I said it was there. I know we talked about one being put there, but I thought that was a Cadillac was where we were gonna add the pond there.
Yeah, where you were last, the road, we'd probably be digging up part of that road up until the driveway of the house on the upper side. And that pond would be there to get the storage. It's the same thing as a retention pond you would have in a development.
Okay, so
the same purpose.
it was there, not there.
Correct, and I think they have a discussion on that, and, we've got a inverted slope on the pipe network. The water's going to that area, that intersection, and we need to get it from that intersection back to the pond. So we were looking at, is that gonna take a pressure system to get it away, or is that gonna be regrading, repiping, how we need to do it? So, we just need to adjust for that. And, we're back to, yeah, Coastal can help with this as well. And, I don't know how far they want to go with it.
Yeah, and just so those pipes are reverse grade. I know that, because of those pipes, that's why we have problems with water getting out of it. So when we talked about taking, our guys be able to take that, isn't that state road or?
That I don't know.
I mean, I just wonder if that's something the state would do, if that's something that we
The
have.
state won't do it. We're gonna have to get a permit to do it across this time. We'll probably have to do an open cut, or we have to do an open cut for drainage. Probably a catch basin on that lower side where we collect it on that low point, and then pipe it under the road. We have to have two pipes.
Yeah, we have those, I mean, those pipes that are reverse grade, we're talking about taking those pipes up and correcting this problem, and correcting the problem.
Yeah.
That's there.
You have, if you're gonna do it right.
Yeah.
So I've got a motion on the table to, from Jay. Go ahead, Bob.
And it appears to me that if you clean the pipes and put the duct things on, it'll solve a rain problem, and it'll solve mild high tides. But if it's a big one, like Joe said, it's going right over the bulkhead and it's going to flood everything. So as long as we go into this knowing that, it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah, I think under normal range, it's gonna be okay. It's that. And yeah, I think we had one that was our June time, we had a nor'easter of fire or after, and all that fall, we were gonna flood regardless. But I think it needs to be known, especially with the landowners that are voicing their concerns. Just let them know we're putting a Band-Aid on it, doing the best we can, and solve the problems totally. And so that might be something we send a letter out to the affected owners.
Yeah, well, I think they all realize that we're not gonna solve this problem completely. We just got to mitigate it. Yeah, it's a lot worse, even since I'm, 10 years. I mean, we have a whole lot more king tides. I don't know if they have more king tides, but maybe they're higher king tides or whatever it is. But we're having a lot more flooding than what we did, years ago. So what we got to do is just, try to control some of those. We're not gonna control all. I mean, you have a hurricane or a really bad tropical storm, something you're gonna be over over top of it, unless you build it up higher than, 8 feet, 10 feet, but but no, we can't do that. Well, I'm just saying, I just think, I don't know if we know 5 feet is where it is. I think we're crazy not to go that, just to put it down lower, just to try to make it a little bit less, but not try to control where we are right now, because I'm sure that 5 foot, 10 years from now, it might be 7 feet. You know, that we should have had it, but we won't live, we won't be going back.
We don't have to worry about it.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, if we're crazy to put it at, 4 feet, when we know it needs to be 5 feet. Cause I mean, a foot can make a lot different when the board starts coming over there.
Where did this 5 feet number come from?
As from, I know Steve had it, I know that's where they did, I don't know, Jamie, or whoever did it, anyway, they came, that's where the title, maybe it wasn't from that, but when the title, when the storm, the title, when we saw, the title part was or whatever it is there.
I think we can give
Can I interject, when Jonathan Hinkle was first doing the Rocky Mount project, before the latest revision, he was recommending 3.8 feet,
That's right.
and that was gonna capture 80% of the flooding. After he did that study, Steve was still here. He asked to increase that to 4.4 feet, I think is the number, which would have captured more. The question is, where does Malthus sit? But I think that I agree with you, Joe. We don't need to underscope this thing. We would want to scope it higher to try to capture more than that 80%. But what that number actually turns out to be, I think is still something we need to.
But I think we can, from the tidal gauges,
That's what I was gonna say. We sent an email to Hanu yesterday to try to get, because it's offline right now, I can't access the historic data. So I sent an email to them yesterday, requesting, looking back at all of the hurricanes and high water situations we've had since the tide gauge was installed. I requested data around all of those events, around king tide events in October, and then the October nor'easter that we had in 2025, to try to get a sense of what the actual high water elevation is. And I think we can take what has historically happened, looking at how much maybe the high tides have risen over the past 6 years to get a sense of localized sea level rise. You can start predicting maybe, okay, maybe the high water mark is at only 3.8. And if you go to 4.5, then you're, giving yourself a factor of safety of 25% or something like that over top of what historical high water has been. But also if you go to 5 and your neighbor is only at 4, then it doesn't matter what elevation you're at, the water's going to come over there, bulkhead. So you're kind of you don't want to go above theirs, but you don't really want to, you also don't want to undercut yourself by going 6 inches below. I think matching their elevation. I remember a discussion, I may be incorrect, but I thought there was talk of one of the neighbors they were in the process of raising this bulkhead on their side.
at one time it was, but I think everything.
Well,
was really convoluted.
at one time, we were hoping the neighbor would wait before he did anything.
Yeah.
He was going to do that when we were studying. So I think that was part of the problem there.
So hopefully hear back from Hanu to get some of their historic data, and we can start plotting what the historic high level of water has been at Bush Marina, and then we can use that to kind of get a better estimate of what elevation the bulkhead should be.
So I think where we are right now is, one, we got a list on the table. And then we're hearing the sense of urgency on Rocky Mount. I don't think we're ready to present this committee with a recommendation for us to consider on the Rocky Mount. But we're getting there quickly, Joe. I understand the can is almost hitting the other side.
Yeah. Well, like I said, also we're looking at a budget thing. We talked about when we were looking at budget stuff back in the spring, we wanted to have an idea of start setting some money aside or set some money aside so that when it came time to do it, we would have it there.
I think for the board, to be able to give a direction to the staff, if this board would make a recommendation that, they request the staff to proceed with the detention pond, not a retention, the detention pond, for the Rocky Mountain, the design for that and a quick turnaround. And that at least gets staff going, along that direction so we can go ahead and move forward with this. We may have to have a camera permit for some of the work, and we can get some schematics in the camera and get a permit. How fast does that go? But that's what we're moving the pace with.
Well, don't we got 2 two different things here as far as I see.
You did.
I think we ought to, say, vote on, picking one of these outlets to try, to put a duck bill on, one that we will kind of know that if it's gonna work or not, and then another vote to do exactly what Frank just said. Two totally separate things.
The duck bill's gonna work any day right now, wouldn't it? That's not gonna solve our problem, but when the water goes above the duck bill and then starts increasing into the streets and stuff,
Well, this would just be a test.
it'll drain it back down once the tide drops.
Tom, is there an obvious choice of the 4 locations that would give us the best bang for the buck? With one new one?
Carolina or Florida. I mean, either one of those, I would say. I mean, really take your pick.
I mean, you have the motion on the
No,
table,
that's fine.
but I would suggest that, we're talking a duck bill for $5,000. We've identified 3 areas where we think that is a solution that needs some work, maybe put in additional length of pipe and some camera. Approval. But we could have a motion, not putting any words in my mouth, but, if we have a motion that they proceed along those lines to address those issues, we could discuss that and vote it up and down, and then we can go back to the Rocky Mountain issue and decide if you want to proceed with this process or a recommendation.
I'd second that.
What's your motion, Jay? So, tell me what your,
Well, you follow everywhere you went, but, I'll make a motion to try one duck bill at Carolina. How about that? Make it easy.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Like sign? Okay, now the next issue is on the Rocky Mountain. And I would take a motion to have staff consider to pursue the retention pond option and deliver their recommendations at a subsequent BIS meeting. Would anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to do exactly what you just said, whatever that was.
You
Sounded good.
All right, so the motion, if I was to tell you, would be to continue to pursue the retention plan option at Rocky Mount, and bring a recommendation back to the BIS committee at its next meeting.
Second.
You got any discussion?
Okay, I know we're looking at doing retention. Okay, that's one aspect of it. It goes, then you're looking at having to do a wall.
Yeah.
Then you're looking at also having to fix those pipes that are in the street where you got reverse grade. Because you put that retention pond there, but if you pipes are at reverse grade,
You're not gonna
you're
get.
not gonna get flow back to that. You don't get flow back to your pond and stuff or something.
Yeah,
That's kind of like, if we do one thing, but we're not gonna solve a problem because we know that water's not gonna drain or shouldn't drain back. They got reverse grade.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, correct it all the way up or it's not gonna work at all.
That's part of the planning.
Yeah,
Well, I'm just saying, probably the problem is doing the retention pond, but I'm saying, why not go on and get an estimate on of your wall, of your retention pond, and what's gonna cost to do the pipes. If we can do it, it's stable. If we can do it, but if we can't,
yeah, it's all one unit. I mean.
I don't think I'd be done. Yeah, it's kind of like the other thing.
It's not segment or not divided up, so a wall is one cost and it's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So we can't put the pond in without putting either a wall or berm. And there's no need to put the pond in if we can't get the water to it.
That's what
So it all
I'm.
has to be the whole thing. It can't be part of
So
it.
that's what our mission should be. Correct.
Yeah, well,
Whoever is to go in, yeah, we have to go in and see. what's gonna be involved in cost wise to do that.
I thought we're already there. I mean,
I thought-
why do we have to give it to staff when we're already at that point? Didn't we already, I mean, we paid for it. We know the study,
No, that was,
This is
that's
all
all
different
city.
deal.
all other, but I thought there was a new one.
I think we're pursuing, but we don't have it all tied together.
It's no longer a study, it's now a design and build. And, I think, the concept is design build for the system there for the pond.
Yeah.
And that includes the upgrade
Right.
drainage
Yeah.
and, either wall or berm.
So we have a motion and a second for the system.
Right.
And any further discussion?
You know how high the pipes, everything flows east to west. Right? But how much higher is the pipe on the beach side than it is on the sand side? Does anybody know? So there's gotta be a degree.
I don't know if anybody's ever shot through the pipes to get the inward. They're the ones at the intersection. That's what's creating the problem.
And then being backed up because they need to be cleaned.
Well, I don't know if they're clean.
In the first grade. Instead of flowing down towards the water, they're flowing up to it.
They're flowing to the ocean when they should be going to the sign. And so, and then it's backing behind the road because, there's no place to go. Once it gets back there, there's nothing to take it somewhere else. And so once it pulls back there, that is serving the same retention on back there, back of the road, except it's overflowing the road. Same principle.
What I'm saying is, okay, as a committee, can this committee, go out and get estimates on what's gonna cost to fix that thing? Or is that something that this committee presents it to this is what their recommendation is, and then the board says, okay, we'll go out and get bids now on, to do the work there.
There may be a cost in the design that's, I guess that's something that might come to the board. You know.
I mean, you got the design.
Yeah, well, no. It's a partial, part of it can be used, but it doesn't, that won't function.
Okay, I mean, that won't, so what we're saying is then this committee's gonna, we're gonna make a motion for the committee to get whoever needs to get done, get that finalized. The whole project.
Yes.
And stuff, and then get bids on what's gonna cost, or to,
Yeah, we have to.
after they get the finalized, plan, then send it to the board, because we're going to approve the cost of that.
And that, well, I was trying to move it fast as I could for a preliminary.
Yeah.
To get a cost for our budget.
Okay.
I know you want to get it going.
No, I mean, I don't want to rush it, but I mean,
Well,
like I said,
no.
it's something we've been, you know, and we're looking at budget. Well, if we do have a round figure, we put in there if we're gonna do something.
Yeah, this 6 years has been long enough.
What's been going on before that, but yeah, we start talking about it.
But, yeah, that was a decision.
Any other discussion? Okay, let's call the vote. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay. All righty, moving ahead, and, observation is traditionally, we've spent 95% talking about beaches. Now we're starting to talk about sound a whole lot. But in the context of our BIS, Connie, would you give us an update on where our fund is?
Okay, we'll look at our financial sheets first. On our revenue sheet, we had $54,529.71 this month, for the month of February. And of that, we had, some ad valorem taxes, which they continue becoming in, our vendor accommodations, and for some of the Topsail Beach. The interest earned this month was $11,085. Which continues, we'll meet the 70,000 or better. It's good, we're all proud of that. And that's about it for our revenues. We go through our expenditures, and it's basically this, regular expenditures, nothing out of the ordinary. You do see down at the bottom there, you'll see Topsail Island Vitex project, 17,906. That's actually the North Topsail Beach portion that they repaid, Topsail Beach, because we are the agent of the project, the Topsail Island project. And then the 56,703 is Topsail Beach's portion. So that has come out of, the BIS. And the total for the expenditures is 156,511.45. You move over to your fund balance sheet, and again, you'll just see where the revenues were introduced and the expenditures went out. And at the end of February, you had 9,273,675 in the BIS fund currently. Any questions?
I'm just curious about this FEMA, the FEMA reimbursement, these negative figures here on the revenue.
That's just a matter of us, when we would just be amending the budget at some point before the end of June, just to say, well, we brought in that money. That's all that means.
Thank you.
So the only question that I have is the next event that we're accumulating dollars for, the total is 12 million? Is that what we're shooting for?
The total would be, Chris, and you can help me out here, but we're talking 2728. Year 2728. Then the total expenditure from the town would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 million. And Chris, help me out here, because I know you got the numbers right where they need to be.
Correct. So, the next project, we're anticipating total cost to be somewhere around $25 million. Of that, 25% is town money, 75% shallow draft navigation fund. We're shooting for 12 million so that we have reserves in place. Should we get hit by a hurricane immediately within the first year or two afterwards, that we can cash flow a FEMA-based project. So if we were to do the project, finish up in March of 28, and then have a storm hit in August of 28. FEMA only pays you back after you've spent, means on a monthly type basis, but we would have to be able to cash flow in that fall to actually redo the work that was lost in the storm. So we're trying to keep y'all one project ahead always, so you can always cash flow a FEMA event.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all might as well get used to that.
That's my butt trying to get out of this role.
Connie, so do we have an anticipation of how much we're going to collect in BIS this year? And what's our goal or tentative?
Well, our goal is to collect a little over $1 million.
Okay,
At the end of this.
We are, Connie and I have been talking about this quite a bit. We are on pace, and if we do a project in 27, 28, we are very much on pace with the collections to wind up with $6 million left in the bank at the end of that project.
Okay.
Any other questions? Connie, thank you very much. And, as always, the job you're doing on the interest collections, really nice, very nice. Do you need a part-time job on that? All righty, Islandwide Beach Vitex project update. Does anybody have that?
I do.
Okay, good, thank
The
you.
manager, that was me. There's really no real Vitex update, other than the fact that the NBI is looking to, the company is looking to schedule to start treatments again. And they're hoping that will be sometime in the last week of April. But that could change due to weather and everything. That's about where we're at with that.
Any questions? All righty. Topsail Island Shoreline Protection Commission. The next meeting, it will be a week from today at 2 o'clock at Surf City Town Hall. We are positioning ourselves for a spring legislative visit, to talk to our congressmen and senators and various committees about our interest. One of those interests would be continuing to see progress toward the 50-year storm damage project for Surf City. I will say that there has been some positive steps taken, some agreements made for North Topsail Beach. The idea is that they've mapped a lot of North Topsail Beach as a COBRA zone, which wouldn't allow those landowners flood insurance, or wouldn't allow those owners to be able to have financing that was federally. I think they're reaching an agreement through the efforts of TISBC and North Topsail Beach to grandfather those homes that have been established there already. So they're working through that. At our last TISBC meeting, there was considerable discussion about oyster leases and the continuation of granting oyster leases, especially in Pender and New Hanover County. Tanner Guy's wife, I think, is what her name is. Sabrina. She had a lot of comments, and there were comments from Ted Tucker and comment from a retired surgeon. Many people having negative comments about not having or wanting to have an oyster lease moratorium because of the number of leases. I think they just recently had a hearing where 10 leases were considered. All of those were in New River Inlet or New River, except for one that was in Alligator Bay. So that's about where we are with the Shoreline Protection Commission. Our next meeting is next week again at 2:00. And then our legislative tour is on April the 20th, 21st, and 22nd. And we're also talking with David Farrell of Maynard Nixon, getting some early contact with our state representatives about the oyster lease for one thing, shallow draft inlet fund, and making sure that that remains solvent going forward. It's some storm damage protection money, which is where the Vitex money is coming from, making sure that stays solvent. So that's pretty much what the ISPC is up to these days. I might just add that Mayor Braxton and I attended the most recent Coastal Resources Commission meeting. During that meeting, they had a hearing, public hearing to approve funding from the Division of Coastal Management to help fund the closing for the south end. There was no resistance, but our Mayor Braxton got up and spoke in favor of it. And so they will be able to allocate the funds to assist the closing, so the property will be transferred to the Division of Coastal Management. That's the south end. There was also a lot of discussion about a variance request for the north end of Figure 8 Island. I didn't realize that they had had so much pressure on erosion at the north end of Figure 8 because of the shifting of Rich's Inlet. But they've had a lot of pressure. They've already installed sandbags, and they asked for a variance to have larger sandbags installed prior to a beach nourishment project that they're planning for this coming fall. And they were granted that variance to go with the larger sandbags. So you might have a larger piece of fabric out there.
I don't think that sandbag came from Figure 8.
Well, in any case, that was one of the items that was on the agenda. The other thing of interest, and I don't want to hold you all too long about this, but there was a lot of discussion about where you can maintain your septic systems, especially in light of what's happened at Rodanthe and Buxton. Had a presentation from the Department of Environmental Quality, the people that handle the septic permitting. What can they do? What authority that the Coastal Resources Commission has? But at the time, they had 22 exposed septic systems on the Outer Banks. And over the past 5 years, I think the number was 65 to 69, Frank, you can help me out on that. And they have situations where the erosion will uncover your septic tank and recover it, and it continues to function. But at some point in time, you lose your septic system, and in the process, you create some pollution. So they're really trying to get a handle on what do you do in a situation like that, and how do you regulate that? Because when you lose your septic system, it's at the house. So there's a lot of discussion on that. Frank, was there anything else out of the meeting that?
No.
Yeah. So,
I got a question for Chris or Jamie. We've been the most active, obviously, South Topsail, doing everything with dredging over the last 10 years or so. Is there any way that our project could be linked to Figure Eight's issue going on? Just from water flow, because I mean, obviously the water comes in here a lot faster and out faster.
I would tell you that we do all of the monitoring for Figure Eight as well as all of, we do part of Lee Island part for you guys to monitor what's happening with Topsail Inlet. We do QTAP Island part, monitoring what's going on with Riches, because they're actively working with Riches Inlet as their bar source, and have been for better part of 2 decades. That situation at the north end has more to do with the WAG of Riches Inlet and the wreck, the Wild Day Rail that is in the middle of that inlet. When it goes on, and I'm not gonna remember which side which in my mind right now, but when that channel wags to one side of that wreck or another, it jumps drastically. The whole channel, it doesn't ever sit with that wreck in the middle, because it's actually exposed at low tide when it's in the inlet. So what it'll do is it'll jump, and when it does, it causes the island to elongate, and that area that sticks out to narrow up. Likewise, when it goes the other way, the island shortens, Figure Eight does, and it fattens up. And so they have this cyclical thing that's been going on for 60 years, ever since the island was developed. So that cycle hasn't really changed. So I would say no, we haven't had the impact. There certainly hasn't been any mention of it from the Figure Eight Island folks of what we did up here. We're actually supposed to do a tour sometime in the near future with them, because they want to come see after the CRC presentation. I talked to them over the years about what we've been doing up here, because we took kind of the model that we started with at Mason's Inlet on their south side and expanded here. And they've got folks on their board that want to come up and visit and see what all we're doing, and see if that's going to be applicable to their long-term plans they're putting together as well.
Obviously, the north end of the island is the less attractive when it comes to this stuff than the south end, because the south end are, obviously, everything goes north to south.
Yeah,
So
I mean, they're coming over to look specifically at what we've done at Topsail, what we're doing at North Topsail Beach. Hopefully we're moving through with some good stuff there. We're having a little bit of hiccups in some of the agencies, but, we're looking to do a large scale project up there as well. And hopefully they'll get through their terminal growing stuff and can get that north end kind of hashed out here over the next 5 to 10 years.
any questions or comments? Anything related to CRC or TISBC or this meeting in general? Do we have any public comments?
Thank you, Mr. Adjourn.
That was a public comment.
These anybody sunglasses?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Like sign, I do want to say one thing. Rochelle, you've done a wonderful job of throwing stuff up on the screen and supporting us through this meeting. Thank you very much. And Tom, thank you for all your work that you've done on the water management.
And I want to thank Rochelle also, because she really helped me a lot. Tom had asked me to do a presentation about TISPC for him, because he was on vacation, to the Chamber of Commerce. And I'm not good with slides and, you know, you want something to do instead of just getting up there and talk. You did a fantastic job of helping put together kind of a slide presentation. So thank you very much again for sharing.
We are adjourned, gentlemen.